Yes, Prof, you're welcome.
Please, can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, Prof, now, yes, you are now a co-host, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Please, apologies. You know, our connection is another issue here. I'm in another hotel for a program, so I had a bit of challenge with the connection. Apologies, but we are back for good now, I guess.
You're welcome,
Okay,
Prof.
so I was saying that someone will be asking, why am I worried too much about working on a web-based mapping procedure rather than the usual static map that we normally produce from our estimates? Most of the times, we really want to help policymakers make the best of decision out of the data that we have. And you and I can testify that in our parts where, for instance, like Ghana, another part of Sub-Saharan Africa or developing countries, the resources available to actually roll out universal intervention practically is just impossible. So what it means is that we need to get the little we have to those who needed them most. And as part of that situation, we need to be able to isolate those at high risk and also to a more localized level. For instance, if you take Ghana, we have the regions, we have the districts, and we have individual towns within districts. Sometimes the problem might only be around a smaller unit of the town or a village. But because that village belongs to a particular district, you'll be thinking that the risk that you are picking up is across the whole of that district, which is not right. But with the static map, it is not possible for you to isolate the smaller villages from the district or from a larger one. So the idea about developing the web-based application in terms of mapping is to allow you to zoom down on much smaller or localized units of analysis so that I can look at certain smaller villages or towns where interventions might be more optimal than rolling out a universal intervention for a district or a region. That is the whole idea. So the bottom line is that static maps are not good at isolating more localized or high resolution areas for your intervention purposes, but web-based maps can do this for you with ease because they try to zoom down to smaller villages where interventions can easily be implemented, especially where public health resources in that locality or that unit is very, very rare or not possible. So to make it short, I was informed reliably that you have had some experience dealing with the geospatial mapping. So I'm going straight into the web-based mapping, assuming that, you know, if when you fit a model, special model, you get your estimate, I'm assuming that you can plot it, you can map it, as you know already. But now, if I have that, how can I transform that one also into a web-based system for decision-making? That's the whole idea. So today, I'll be looking at three critical things. First one, which we call Geospatial data. How do you map a health outcome that has a nature and Geospatial framework, which means that as the location is being taken and an attribute at that location also measured against the location. How do you map that in the web-based system? That's the first one. Secondly, the same procedure, right? But based on that Geospatial data where a location is sampled and an attribute from that location is taken together with extraneous variables or maybe environmental covariates. Now you fit your model to that data to make prediction across the entire surface, even though not all the locations were sampled in the survey. So what it means is I want to make a prediction for both the sampled and then the unsampled locations. Now, after doing your prediction, you guys know how to map it, no problem. But if you have such a data or such an output, how do you convert that into a web-based mapping procedure? We will look at that also. The last one is to do with what we call the lattice data. With the lattice data, this is where a health outcome is being aggregated at a higher level. For instance, you can talk about health facility delivery according to the district in Ghana or according to the regions in Ghana, meaning that you want to find out if health facility delivery varies from one region to another in Ghana. Okay, so if that is the case, what method is available to you to use in the web-based mapping framework? So today, my business is not to develop a model and produce predictions and to map them for you. My business is to use some of those predictions or health outcomes and help you to get it into the web-based mapping procedure. Because my assumption and based on what I was told is that I have some experience working with the geospatial maps. So please, those who will be interested in the modeling itself, I have a lot of papers published in this area. You can have a go at them. If you have any question later on, you can reach out to me. But today, the pure business is use of the web-based mapping procedure as far as health outcome is concerned. So with your permission, my senior man, I would like to start the real business now. And that's the reason why you don't see me showing you any PowerPoint presentation. I'm rather going to show you codes in how that does the job for us. And I'm happy to share these codes with you and possibly share some of the underlying data with you that you can practice on your own. So that when you're doing your own, you can just simulate the web-based aspect of it. That's what I want to say.
So thank you, Prof. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So as you can see, the first one is mapping to scale data, and this is for stunting. Stunting is a measure of malnutrition in populations. This data is based on the Ghana Demographic Health Survey 2014, where the nutritional status of children were actually measured. So stunting is simply the height for AZ score. And if they say you are stunted, it means that your Z score is below -2 standard deviations from the reference median or the reference population. That's simply about it. So we are trying to figure out the sample locations. What is the prevalence of stunting at those locations? You know already that in the DHS survey, that's the Demographic Health Survey, clusters are actually selected. And it's possible that for a given cluster, you could have more than one child coming from that cluster. And then we want to know at that cluster, assuming you have 5 children, and one of them turn out to be stunted, what is the prevalence? It's simply 1/5. And we call this one the naive prevalence. So we want to be able to map the naive prevalence according to the cluster locations used in the study. That's the first idea. So here, there's something like modeling anything. You are just going to map the observed malaria stunting prevalence, as simple as like that. So you have, as you can see here, I'll be highlighting them. This guy here is simply declaring my working directory because I have this data saved in that directory, which I call workshop invitation. That's a folder. So in that folder called workshop invitation, I have this data in a CSV file called nutrition_GH. So that's the name of the file containing the data that I want to deal with. As you know already, the .csv is just an extension. That's a command delimiter, as you know already. Then CSV file, these are command only to read it. You all know about this already, but I'm just taking my time so that I don't write the system. I want you to get all the pieces before I get to the actual work. Then we all take it from there. So this is just the name I've assigned to the data that contains the stunting variable. Okay, just the name I've given to you, so like the object name. So I'm just going to run this one now. So first I need to declare my working directory. If I don't declare, I wouldn't be able to read this in. So I'm going to declare my working directory, which is this one. So as you can see, there was something on the result side. Now, after that, I'm going to read in the data itself, which is in that location. Okay. If you like, I think it will be very good for me to rather possibly open the data itself for you to see. So please forgive me. Let me just go there because it will be good for you to see the data, how it looks like. Because the structure of the data is also very important. The teacher also determine how you can read it in, how you can also plot it and stuff. So just give me a few minutes to open it up. I'm very sure you'll see my screen, right?
Yes.
Because I'm sharing the entire screen. So anywhere I go, you should be able to see. So irritation, nutrition. So as you can see, that's a file here, nutrition_GH. So I'm going to open it just for you to look at how the structure is. Okay, so as you can see, these are ID of the respondents. The long here stands for the longitude. this name, the long, stand for longitude. When they capture the location, you have the longitude and then the latitude, which index the geographical location that we're talking about. So you have the longitude and the latitude. So given these two, I'm able to link your attribute to the location where you're coming from. That's the whole idea. And total here simply means that number of children sampled at a given what? Cluster location. That's the meaning. So if you see 8 here, it means that at this cluster location being represented by longitude and latitude, which is -3 point that and then +6 point that, there are 8 children starting from that location. The question then is, okay, with the 8 children, how many of them had their Z-score below -2 standard deviation? And there are 3 of them. Okay, so given this count, the HAZ is simply height for AZ score. So meaning that there are 3 children whose height for Z score is below -2 standard deviation. Now the total number at that cluster location is 8. So to get the naive prevalence, is simply your 3 divided by 8, as simple as like that. And that will give you 0.375. Then the next one you see is a weight for AZ score and the prevalence and other things will follow. So, but for this exercise, I'll give you this data anyway, but for this exercise, I'm just going to use the prevalence for height for AZ score, which is for stunting. Then maybe when I get it out, you can try the weight for AZ score, even the weight for AZ score, which is for, the weight for AZ score is for underweight, measure of underweight. And then the weight for high Z score is a measure of wasting in the population. So when you get it, you can try your hands on it. Okay, but we'll use this one, which is the prevalence for stunting in our example. So this is a data structure. This is how the data structure looks like. So if you can also get your data in this format, what you're going to do right now, you can follow the same procedure and you get it mapped. That is where I want to show the data structure for you. A normal CSV file or Excel file can do this for you. So I'm going to read this data into the system now, as I was discussing earlier. And this is the data I'm reading from here. So that is this one. Okay. So we want to see the names in the data set. So as I've shown you, these are the names. You have the ID, the longitude, the latitude, the total number of children start from a given cluster, then the count for height for AZ score, then the prevalence of that. You have the count for weight for age, that kind of stuff. But we are, like I said, we are focused on the prevalence, which is for the height for AZ score. Okay. Okay. With this, I'm ready to go. First, to produce a web base for geostatistical data like you have seen, you could see that we have the longitude and latitude, and then the prevalence of stunting is indexed to them, each of them. So what it means is that we can use the longitude and latitude and then map the outcome of interest, which is the stunting prevalence. So in this case, before I start, you can do that using a package called Leaflet in R. Leaflet is one of the packages we use for web-based mapping in R. So I have to activate Leaflet in this system. There you go. Now, the next command that you see, this will help me to give what you call the scales, or you can the binning. If you're doing the histogram, you say you bin within certain interval, that kind of stuff. So instead of having a continuous distribution of the scales, you can bin it maybe from 0 to 25%, 25% to maybe 50%, 50% to less than 5%, less than 5% to 100%. That's what I'm doing here. But if you also like, you can also do it on a continuous basis. That is continuous, meaning from 0 to 1, without getting them into what? Groups, or maybe, let's say, intervals. If you don't want the intervals, you can do so. Normally, I believe in the interval because in rolling out intervention, you want to see, okay, if the thing goes beyond certain threshold, then you focus on those areas. So if that is a focus for you, then you need to do the intervals. So here, for instance, I have a result that can cover where the prevalence is maybe 50% or more. Then when I do this, I can get a caller that tells me that from this region, you are getting 50% or more. Compared to it continuously on a continuous scale where from 0 to 1, and you struggle to identify where your threshold could be. So that's the whole idea. But if you don't have that at the back of your mind, you just want to show how they are looking like, they don't need to do any kind of interval in terms of their skills. So for me, because of policy decisions, I always want to have that interval to guide me in the selection process. So here, you need a PAL here is simply the palette, which is a color palette. How do I want the color palette to look like? I'm saying that I'm going to use a color B, which is one of the color systems, which you can find the Viridis as a color palette. But I'm saying that do the color according to this classification from 0 to what? 1. So we have 0 to 0.25, 0.25 to 0.5 to 0.75 to 1. So at the end of the day, this is the interval that we'll be working with, because the interval will go with the scale or the color that we have assigned to the system. So my job is done as far as this is concerned. So I can run this guy, and then the color palette will be created for me. Sometimes, depending on the time zone you find yourself, they'll give you this warning, but don't worry. It's just a warning. If you run it again, it goes off. It's not a problem. So the next thing you need to do is to bring the command leaflet. The leaflet is a command that we normally use to do the web-based mapping. Then the next item in a bracket should be the name of the data set. The name of the data set, which in our case here is the nutrition data set, the one we have just discussed. Then these are piping. We are piping, that is, we are looping over several things together using a pipe command. So the leaflet will now ask you, after the piping, what else do you want to talk about? Okay, I'm saying that you need to add what you call tiles. The tiles here, you can use a Google street light or open street light or anything, or even the cartography and all that kind of stuff. Those who are interested, you can look for this. There are different tiles that we use for the mapping. Even I'll show you today anyway, but in case you want to have your own hand on it, I will show you what you need to do. There are different tiles. That is the background of your prediction. Well, if you're mapping, what do you want to see at the background? Is it the open street map or the cartography map or whatever it is? Different about three. Commonly, there are three of them that we normally use. The other open street, the cartography, and there's some other ones. You see them today. That is for this one. So this is simply the task. You're only adding the task. Then once you see another pipe, it means you are asking for more. Now, I'm asking you, or I'm telling the system that I want the location to be round like a circle. I want the location to be like a circle. So that's why I put here, add circles. I want the location to be like a circle. So that's a command, add circles. And here, this type of longitude. So this is asking me what is the variable that represents longitude in your data set. And I'm saying that the variable that represents longitude in my data set is named this one. Remember the data set that I show you, this is how we capture the longitude. So it should be the same. The way you capture in the data set, the same thing you should use. Then the next one is asking me, how did I capture latitude in the data set? And I say it's the same thing. This is how I capture the latitude in the data set. Okay. For the symbol before the latitude and longitude, we know it already. Even from the linear regression principle in the R, if you want to fit the linear regression after the outcome variable, this is the tilde sign normally used before the dependent variables or empty model follow. So it's the same thing. Then this is asking me, what is a color palette? What is a color palette? And I'm telling you that the color palette is called PAL. That's what I created at the top here, this one. This is the name of the color palette, PAL. So I just repeat that one here, PAL. Then the next thing is to be asking me, what exactly do I want to plot? What exactly do I want to plot? And I said I want to plot the prevalence of high for AZ score, which is the prevalence of stunting. But as you can see, I didn't attach the data set that is NUTR. I didn't attach it to the system. So if I want to pull out the prevalence, I need to bring the dollar sign together with the data set before this can be recognized. If I run this without the NUTR dollar sign, it will not work because I haven't attached the data to the system. You know, you can use a command attach, then you bring the data set so that I don't need to call the data set again. But I didn't do that one. So I have to call the data set together with the attribute that I want. So this is just the data set with a dollar sign. I pull out the attribute that I want to map. As simple as that. Now you can see that there's another pipe again, meaning something else have to come again. It's like a loop. So this is telling that I want to add what? A legend to the map. I want to add a legend to the map. And this is telling you that I want the legend to be at the top right corner of the map. The top right simply means that I want the legend to be placed at the top right corner of the map. Okay, so what exactly do I want to do here? I'm going to tell a system that even with the legend, make sure you keep the color palette that I've defined with the legend. You need to keep the color palette, and that is PAL. Now, what exactly do I want to appear in the legend or want to map? As we discussed already, is the high for AZ score, but the stunting prevalence. So this is in prevalence, not on the high for AZ score. Then, as you can see, this comma simply means that I have another option to provide. And that option is about the title that I want to give to the map. So the title I want to give to the map is proportion what? Stunted. Meaning that the proportion of children who are what? Stunted at a given location. That's the meaning of that. And you can again see another pipe again, which is another loop. Another pipe again. And this part means I have to bring something again. And that thing I'm bringing is adding the scale bar, which we know already. The scale bar to the map. It's very useful most of the times. In fact, you can also add what we call the arrow bar. You can add the arrows. Either it's to the north or that kind of stuff. You can add that one also. But for this one, I'm only adding the scale bar to it. That is how many kilometers on the ground is visited on the map, that kind of stuff. That's what I want to add. So once that is done, I think I'm done for now. But like I said, I could also go on to add the arrow. That is the northern arrow. I can do that. So this is what I've done. So with this one, if I run this one comfortably, did you see just what pop up now?
Yes.
So with these simple lines, of course, I've been able to map the stunting prevalence at the cluster locations. And if you see the right side, you see the scale coming. Let me push it close to you so that you can see what is happening. You can see the legend, right? You can see the legend, the one here. Proportion stunted. Can you see? Yes. Close to the map? Okay. Thank God you can see. So here, the yellow areas are the areas where you have between 75 to 100% what prevalence of what stunting. That's the meaning of it. And then the purple ones range between 0 to 25%. Okay. But this is the web-based mapping. And how do I use this for policy decision? Look at it. Let me expand. As I try to expand this map, you begin to see that even smaller towns will start showing up within the map. So let me just zoom out. Can you see that I'm zooming out?
Yes.
So I can see Clanka, I can see Techima, I can see Nkoben, and then when I can see Mampong. And when we get to the continuous mapping where you map to cover the entire country, you realize that each of these towns, you can tell the prevalence at those locations. This is even just at the sample location that we are looking at, okay? So I can zoom out more, and then let's try to figure out where we have some yellow colors, and that will also be telling us what's happening right there. So here is one of them. Do you see this yellow color? This is where my cursor is right now.
Yes.
You see there's one yellow over there, which is another cluster, picking a higher prevalence, that is between 75 to 100% prevalence of stunting. And it's telling me that this is very close to a town called Checheure. And if the internet is good and you zoom out, even the smaller village, which is actually part of a Google, you see it entered here. So that's the whole idea about web-based mapping. So this is how you can map, and this can be saved as a web-based application. I can send it to anybody I thought to open a day to show the same. You can zoom out or zoom in at your own time. It's not dependent on any application. It's purely HTML hot system. But to do that one, you need to run it in RStudio. and you save it as a web-based application, your job is done. You don't need any other application or app to do it or to open this anytime. It's just there for you. So that is the first example I want to give. But please remind me, when I'm about to finish, remind me. I would like to run the same thing in our studio for you to see and save it for you to see so that you can also save your own in that way. And you can share with your, maybe if you want to publish it in a journal, you can share it with the editors or the journal for publication, or you can send it to program managers to use, because this doesn't depend on any other app. Once they have internet connection, that's all they need. Everything is fine. Very, very cheap and very simple. And you could say that once I run it, automatically it tries to locate where Ghana is and map all the points within Ghana, because that is for Ghana. You can do the same for any other country in this world, and it's going to be the same for you. So that is the first one. Is there any question about this one before I move back?
Yes, Prof. Before you move on, the data for the stunting.
Yes.
To be clear, you got it from
the Ghana Demographic Health Survey, 2014.
Survey, okay, of one of the years.
Yeah.
So that means you have to scrape it yourself individually.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You need to get a data because you have a data on high for AZ score, weight for AZ score, and weight for AZ score, and some other things. The only thing is that the DHS data have the survey data separately from the GPS data, but you can apply for the two, and then you merge them. Merging them, the DHS data, the GPS data has a variable called cluster, the cluster ID. The survey data also have a variable called cluster ID. So use the cluster ID to merge both the GPS data and then the survey data set. That's all you need to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all you need to do. If you want, I can show you some codes to do the merging is easy. You use a normal command, the merge, then you bring the spatial data, the GPS data first, followed by the DHS, the survey data. Then the merging variable now is the DHS class, which is the DHS cluster ID. That's all. Your job is done, yeah. So what it means is that you have children from each of these locations. So you need to find the total of children in that location and then find how many of them were stunted or maybe how many of them were minorities or that kind of stuff. Then you just do the prevalence, which is an naive prevalence. So you divide the number of children who are stunted, divide the total number of children starting from that same location, which is a cluster location. That's all. Please, any more question on this? Any more question? We want to finish here thinking that you can grab your own data now and do something similar. And that's the interest about the whole of this. But like I said, I will definitely share my code with you and with this sample data also. But this is a real data, it's a real life data. I've even published one paper on this already. Okay, so I'm assuming that at this level, you're okay so far. So I want to go to the next stage where we really want to model. That is maybe, for instance, like malaria cases. We want to model it to cover both the sample and then the unsample locations, while accounting for some environmental covariates. These are just the modeling part, which you know already. So I'm just bringing the excess so that you know how the whole thing started. Then when you now obtain your predictions, both the predicted value either based on the median or the mean. For me, for the spatial mapping, I do it mostly in a Bayesian framework. So you have your predicted median across the entire country. You have your sensitivity measures around that. That is either the standard error or the 95% confidence credible interval. And then you can map the lower or the upper, but what I normally do sometimes, I do both sometimes. In some papers, I map the lower credible interval and then the upper credible interval. And then sometimes I find a difference between the two. That's the upper minus the lower, which gives you what you call the confidence width or the credible interval width. Okay, because it's also a measure of sensitivity around your estimate. But you can also add a standard error to it of your prediction. You can do that. That is fine. So the next idea or the next stage is that, okay, you have done all these things already. just as you produce a static map. But this around, we don't want to produce a static map. We want to produce a web-based map so that policymakers can use it decisively. Remember that even a point on a static map can be a whole town or a whole region. But the problem is that you will not know the town or the region or the district that you are pointing at because it's just a static map. It's not giving you any name. Even if you are a geographer, it will be difficult for you to just look at the point on that map and tell that this belongs to maybe Central Kofi, or maybe here is maybe let's say Abo in the Volta region, or this is Hokwe in the Volta region, because you can see in a static map. But with a web-based map, even the regions, the districts, the individual towns can be shown. And you are more accurate in terms of determining where to send your resources based on the problem that you're observing at those locations. So that is the first point. So now going to the second one, I'm just reverting to my my R. Are you back to the R script now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So as you can see, the next one is what we call continuous surface, mapping continuous surfaces within the same web-based application. This very one is based on under 5 malaria prevalence in Ghana. But this is not a count. This is a modeled prevalence where I've taken into account environmental covariates. This paper is currently accepted in a malaria journal in the BMC series. And we are doing some final touches before they publish it. So what I'm trying to say is that you follow the same procedure you normally follow to do your mapping, your modeling here and there, but now after you got your result, how do you get into the web-based application? That one, I have to change my working directory again, which is this one. So the same usual procedure. But what I'm going to do right now, I need some packages to be able to work effectively. And the first one is the SP package, which is very common, the SP package. So I need to load this one. We use for spatial analysis or mapping. Now, this guy here is the name of the predicted median, that is predicted malaria prevalence across the whole of Ghana. This is based on statistical modeling, where you find a correlation between the sample and the non-sample locations. You fit your model, taking into account the spatial correlation and other environmental covariates to produce your estimates. So the one I highlighted here, that is how I saved the predicted malaria prevalence across the whole of Ghana, both sampled and unsampled locations. So all I need to do is to load it into the system. So I load this estimate that I've produced based on my model. Those who are interested when it is published, I can share with you. But the methodology, I've used this before for stunting in Ghana, which is published in the Lancet Journal. So it's the same methodology. So those of you who are interested, you can go and have a look at it. It's already available freely online. So now let's look at the prevalence across the country. But this one is just a summary of that. So let's look at the summary first. So the layer here is the one indexing the prevalence. You can see the coordinates. You can see what I added here at the top here, coordinates, which is the X and Y coordinate, which is the longitude and then the latitude, which is the longitude and the latitude. Okay. So here I want to map the prevalence of malaria among the 5 children in Ghana. This is telling the minimum prevalence around maybe 72%, and the maximum is 51% or 51.4%. That's the prevalence across the country. And this prevalence is location dependent. So we need to map it to see how overall the prevalence looks like across the entire country. That's my business now. So when I come here, I want to define a different color palette. The first one I use is a different one, and here I'm using a different one. And for me to use this color palette, the yellow, orange, and red, I can get this one from the Art Color Brewer. So that package, so I have to load that package. Remember, the first one we used was based on the leaflet package. The first color palette we used based It's based on leaflet package, but this one is going to be based on the add color brewer package. Okay, so I've loaded that one already. So the command is supposed to be brewer.pal, that's a palette. So the question is, how many palette do I want? That is, how many different color do I want? I say I want maybe 5. And then what color do I want? I want the one that moved from yellow to orange to red. That's what I want. So I run this one again. That is created for me. Now, again, I want to look at the summary so that I'll be sure in terms of the mapping. So when I map, I can look at it to see that what I really want is what is there for me. Now, again, I want to use a different strategy because this is a continuous scale. So I want to use a different strategy where I can grab everything I want to grab properly. There's a package called SparseSoft, developed by Benjamin Taylor in Lancaster University in the UK. A very nice package. With this package, you can use the function splots1 to also generate your web-based mapping together with the use of leaflet package. So leaflet package is actually embedded in this package. So they work together to produce very nice output for you, similar to what I did earlier. But this is for a continuous surface mapping, continuous surface mapping. So as you can see, the MPC one here is just an object name I've assigned. I've assigned it to myself, it's not anything. I say mapping prevalence with color, the system for color, and I say 1, just the first one. Because I also map the uncertainties, which is a standard error and then the 95% confidence width. I map those ones also in the paper. That very small in the class that you see. But like I said, if you look at the Lancet one, it's already there, the same strategy, everything is there. So here, that first after the command, this is a command to do this plotting, spplot1. After that, the next thing you should bring is the name of the estimate that you have produced. Remember, as you can see here, the attribute itself is named layer, but the variable in which it was stored is resp1, which is a response. That's why I call it response1. So this is just the name of the object in which the attribute layer can be located. So first, I bring the name of the object first. Then the next one, I bring the layer that represents what exactly I want to map. As you can see, the prevalence is named layer. So I want to map the prevalence, so I have to use the name layer. The next one here, use leaflet equal to true, meaning that place in this mapping, make use of the leaflet for me. If I were to put false, then there will not be any leaflet map, then you have your static map. But I want the web-based map, so I have to allow leaflets. This is just the background color, either you want it to be white or not. If I say true, then it will produce a white background for the map, which I don't want. Now the palette here means that what color palette do you want to use? Remember, we have created that from here, the brewer side. This is what you created here, the same palette. You can change it. This is just an object name. You can give your own name. It doesn't matter. So this is what I prefer to use. You can use your own name. It will still work. So I've provided the color palette I've given. That is it. This is asking me what is the title. This stands for the title. What is the title? I say malaria prevalence. This guy here, what this guy will do is that instead of having malaria prevalence in one line, it will put them in 2 lines. So malaria will be at the top, the problem will be down. It's like you break them into 2. But sometimes, if once you allow use leaflet to be true, it will override this command. But I always leave it like that, so that in case I want to set the leaflet to be false, then I can have the title there for the legend. Then you see something here in the bracket. I'm telling you that, in fact, the prevalence is actually in what? Percentage. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying the malaria prevalence is actually in what? Percentage, and not in proportion. It's actually in percentage. Unlike the first one you saw, which is in proportion, this one is in percentage. So that needs to be clearly defined. Then, I don't want to do the piping here. So all I need to do is to hold the same thing again, put it here, and then add additional detail that I want to add. So it is at this stage that I want to add a tiles. Here I'm using the OpenStreet tiles. Here I'm using the OpenStreet tiles, as you can see. By default, we use OpenStreet tiles for this command by default. So I don't need to do any further thing here. Now, the next thing I want to add is a scale bar. And then which position do I want to put the scale bar? I say put it at the bottom right. That is how many meters or maybe how many kilometers on the ground present, whatever on the map or whatever it is. You all know about it. This is how we assign those things here. All I'm saying here is that please put the scale at the bottom right of the map. That's all. And then you see something here again. I now repeated this without any piping or without any further command, meaning that I'm calling for the output to be produced. That is displayed output for me. On that note, I'm just going to run this again, that we all see. Okay, the fancy, so it means I didn't run this package command. That is this one's pass off. So it's loading. Okay, that is done. So I can go. You have that. When it is done, to tell you that the leaflet is produced, as you can see. So leaflet map returned. So I superimpose the remaining ones on it. That is done. Until I call the last one, which will bring out the output, you don't see anything. So don't think that nothing is done. The job is done, just that you're now to call it out. So the last line will call the result out. So let's look out for it. We are waiting. There you are. Can you see the current screen now?
Yes.
So this is what I'm talking about. With this one, you can even see some red at certain place already. Is that not correct? Mm-hmm. Let's get close to the legend. The more red it is, then the higher the prevalence. That's what this is telling you. So those areas that we are seeing some reds showing up, these are the areas where the prevalence of malaria among the 5 is very high. Okay. But again, we can zoom out. Okay, let's come to central region. We are seeing something in central region. Let's see. There could be a town in central region where this might be more prevalent than other places within the same region, as you can see clearly already. But what town is that one? Even if you are a geographer, it will be difficult for you to tell which towns in central region with this smaller static map that are having the high risk. No. But with this web-based map, again, I can zoom out. Focusing on the higher density prevalent areas. Please, can you see that some towns are showing up?
Yes.
So something like Asin or Chiso, BCRC, Siam, all these ones are located close to where the danger is. Okay. And you see that it also gives you the road network. Even if there are some mountains or some rivers, everything, it gives you all those things. With those simple commands, you are producing all these things. And this is very useful for policymakers because, like I said from the start, even if you want to roll out an intervention, which is supposed to be universal within a region or a district in Ghana, we don't really have the resources, public resources to do so. But if you're able to do something like this, you can focus on these smaller towns and do some intervention, meaning that you're giving to those who actually need it most because you don't have that much to roll it for everybody. So you focus on the areas where the risk is higher and you are targeting those specific towns rather than universal intervention at the district level or something higher than that. That's the whole idea. That is the whole idea. I can zoom out. The more I zoom out, if the connection is good, this is internet dependent. So if the connection is good, the more you zoom out, the more smaller towns and villages you begin to see. Now, I just talk about if you have a river and stuff. So let me showcase one of those things for you. Someone will be thinking that, but in Ghana, we have rivers. But in the static map, hardly will you see those rivers in the static map. But with this map, as I begin to zoom out, you can see the river showing up clearly. Do you see this one? These are the rivers. Can you see?
Yes.
So you don't need to bother to get rollout intervention in the river. Because the same is telling you that these are rivers. You can see clearly, these are rivers. Okay. So when we are producing, everything we are producing, the system is taking into account that these areas are rivers. So please don't waste your time there. Unless we know that in Ghana, some people are living on some rivers, but it's not that common. Those ones, you can still see them here because the names will still be showing up. For instance, rivers are here by one of the towns you can see is Agodeke. It's also close to the river here. But as you can see, we are not seeing much risk in terms of malaria prevalence there. Okay, there's another one here called Aheto. They are all close to the river. And you can see Pando Municipal District here. So that is clearly in the Volta region. Okay, so these are things you can easily pick without a problem. And in fact, if you come to the top here, you see something like River Volta here, Lake Volta, you can see. But in a static map, you will see these things. It will just be like every place in Ghana, there's no water. So these are some of the interesting things you can do with the web-based application stuff. It's a very nice thing. So that is the second part. That's the second part. Please, you remember I requested for what you call a scale bar. Look at the bottom right, because I say bottom right. Look at it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, and it's there. And the system is crediting itself already with leaflet, OpenStreetMap contributors, and so under the CC BY SA license. If you don't want it, you can crop without the license. All you need to do is to say that you have used the leaflet package, or maybe the SP Plot package, or the Spatial package in R, and you reference the R or those packages. Your job is done. In that case, you don't need to crop, including the leaflet, OpenStreet here and there. This is just crediting them. That's all. But you don't need it if you want to publish this work. Sometimes you can add it, and then you need to indicate that this was produced by the artist. Because if you're not careful, the journalist thinks that this is produced somewhere. You just went and lift it to put into your work because they see some leaflet and OpenStreet, so they thought it's a Google map or something. So normally, if you want to include the credit here, you need to attach another note to your title. There's a figure title that this map was produced by the artist or by the author. Very, very important. Else they'll get back to you to say you have to go and seek for a license from the producer before they can publish it. Meanwhile, you produce this yourself. Okay. Any question on this?
Yes, Prof. I would be grateful if you could take us through your method to arrive at the data.
You mean the data capturing or the modeling?
Yeah, the data, yes, the modeling. Before you, the method you use to model and get the
this
data.
One.
Yes, the data for the malaria prevalence, yes.
I will show you some example if you don't run away, because it's a lot of codes.
Oh, that's 3 minutes. Oh. Just 3 minutes to tell us how.
Okay, don't worry.
Yes.
Don't worry, let me just go back there. Yeah. Yeah, Geospatial. That should be okay. Okay, so this is okay. I need to. Okay, sorry. This one is very important. So what you are seeing here, these are some of the potential environmental coverage that I've taken into account. Okay, which you say you have adjusted for, control for. So you have the aridity, enhanced vegetation index, RTN coverage, mean temperature, travel times to an amber center, and then the annual precipitation. So these are just the coverage, we call it, that I've considered in the study. So in the modeling, I have to do this, and in the prediction tool, they have to be included. So this is just a coverage. But I did some model variable selection also, so some of them were dropped. And then when we get there, you see. I'm just trying to bring out the critical ones. So you see what is happening here? The mal here is a variable for malaria. That I have a data called mal, which is for malaria. So this is the survey data set. And then I need a variable that can help me to aggregate. So this one is something I renamed here to represent the cluster location. I renamed to represent a cluster location so that I can aggregate the data at the cluster location. So you have the command. So you can use this is a command that you normally use the package, the DPL LYR. Yeah. That I use for the distance. So first you have to prepare the data. So that's what I'm doing right now. So here I say summarize total, that is add everybody. by their cluster. Then mal count. Mal count simply means that number of positive cases, that is for malaria. So as you can see, I just say sum that, which is simply, there's a variable in the data set called POS, which is positive to malaria. So I rename it as mal count. That's the number of people who are positive. So I say sum. That gives you the total number of children who had malaria at any of the cluster hot locations. So for each cluster location, it will count how many of them had malaria. Then here, malaria prevalence is simply number of malaria cases divided by the total number of children at each of those cluster locations. So this is a normal stuff. So this is where the data generation actually started. Please, are you okay?
Yes.
So here I get a total count of children by each of the cluster locations. I get the number of children who had malaria at each of the cluster locations. Then I get a prevalence, because once I get the number of children who had malaria out of the total, I can get a prevalence, which is a naive prevalence. So that is the one I can applaud this one also by the cluster locations, just as we did for the stunting one. Is the same procedure.
Okay.
So after that, you need to do something again, because in the GPS data, where we can get the latitude and longitude variables or data set, they name it DHS class, which stands for the cluster ID. The DHS class stands for a cluster ID. So what I try to do is that I bring in the name of the data set I've just generated. It's just a renaming. I don't want to replace the first one I did. This one I don't want to replace it, so I just rename again. So I say mal 0. Then I just repeat the mal underscore D, which is the one we just created. Do you see? So I didn't basically do anything. I'm just assigning a different name, as you can see. I just assign a different name so that I can be using mal 0. So that if I need to do something to the mal D, I can come back and do it again. So that we're using the mal 0 for now. So using the mal 0 is the name of the current data set. Like I said, this is how I've recoded the cluster ID for this very data set. And then I want the system to know that I'm renaming to what? DHS what? Class. Because that is how it is captured in the GPS data. So that I'll be using the DHS class when I want to merge them finally. Now, this one, what you are seeing over here is the GPS data, this one. The one I consider the GPS, that's the location data. So look at it. I've created an index by matching the one I've just created at the top here, this one, which is this one. Then I call out the DHS cluster ID. Then the second one, which is for the spatial data, the one that contains longitude and latitude. For spatial data set, if you want to call out the attribute, you need to bring the name of the spatial data, because this is a spatial data frame. Then you need to do at data. If we say at data, this is where you are now able to get the attribute inside the spatial data. And I'm saying that inside the spatial data attribute, there's a variable called DHS class. So I created an index by matching these two, so that the DHS class and DHS class will be a common variable for me to measure. So as you can see, I say coordinates. I use this one to start for what? Coordinates. Sorry. So let this. Apologies for that interruption.
No problem.
Yeah. I forgot to put up my phone on silence. So CRDS simply stands for the coordinate, which is a longitude and a latitude variable. That's all I'm talking about. Now, the command coordinates simply means that I want to extract the coordinate from the spatial data frame, which is GH. Remember, the GH is a spatial data frame that I'm using that contains the longitude and latitude. So when I say coordinates, that is the whole of this is going to extract the coordinates from the GH data. And by what? By this index, so that we'll get a unique coordinate for both the survey data and then the spatial data. That's the idea of first creating this index, so that we can uniquely pull. So like 1-to-1. We don't want a situation whereby you finish merging, then some observation don't have certain observation we are supposed to have. So we want to uniquely get it. That's why we match it here. So this is a match, so 1 on 1. So once I put this here, the system will extract the coordinate according to the matching we have done earlier. So here we do not have a problem with maybe no alignment or something. No, not at all. And after that, as you can see here, now I brought in malaria 0 variable, and I'm calling out longitude variable. And I'm saying the longitude variable is the first item in the that is the first column of the CRD, the one we created here. Remember that over here, it's only the longitude and latitude that we are pulling out. It's only the longitude and latitude that we are pulling out because it's a coordinate GH index. Those are only 2. And always the longitude is the one in the first column, and then the latitude will be the one in the second column. So with these 2 commands here, we have now been able to move on the longitude and the latitude from the spatial data frame onto the malaria data frame. That's what I've done here. Now, during the analysis, I realized that we have a latitude variable that is below 4. And that variable actually is lying in the sea. That is, that location is lying in the sea, meaning that maybe when they are taking the measurement, something did not go well. And I don't think that we have a country currently, or maybe a town currently on the sea close to Labadi, because it was around the southern part where Labadi is. It's located around that area. So I have to remove them because that is not practicable. So I have to remove that one. And that location is the one having altitude below 4. So I remove that one. Okay. Now, the malaria variable in the data set is MAPREV, which is the proportion, but I want it to be in percentage. So all I did is to assign a new variable called mal_PC, which stands for percentage. That's malaria percent. So how do I do it? All I need to do is to pull out the malaria prevalence variable, then multiply that by 100, so that I'll have it in terms of percentage. That's all. So if the publication can realize that this is actually in percentage rather than in proportion, unlike the first one. So this part, all that you are seeing here is just a process of mapping, selecting colors, because what I want to do is to make sure that those that are yellow are those who don't have a problem. That is, the prevalence is low, and where you see red, then the prevalence is high. So I have to be playing around all the colors until I get where the yellow will mean the prevalence is low, and then the red will mean the prevalence is high. It's just a color selection. It doesn't matter anyway, but sometimes, as human as we are so used to color, so that when things are bad, we want the red to be there. When things are good, we want yellow or maybe green to be there, that kind of stuff. That is all about it. It's not for any fun or anything. That's what I did. So the final one that I actually used for that paper is this one. The color being with the very these colors, 0, 25, 50, 25, 100. That's what I used. So if I were to run this right now, I can show you the output of it anyway. It's also there, but you have seen similar thing in the earlier one. Yes. So let's move to the modeling part where the critical work itself is.
Okay.
So that those who are interested, you can go. But I provided all the steps in the published paper already. So, but sometimes it's good to see. So it's not a small, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So now let's go to, as you can see, this is a modeling part. This is why we started with the modeling. And the modeling, we use the, I don't know if you're familiar with this guy. It's a Bayesian framework of modeling, SPDEP, I don't know. Okay, you see right now. So before I start with the modeling, you know, if you include a covariate in your model, if you now want to do the mapping, that's a prediction for the mapping, the same set of covariates have to be present before you can do the prediction for the mapping. So what you are seeing here is a matter of extracting the same set of covariate from a shapefile onto the prediction grid, what we call prediction grid, onto the prediction grid, so that the system I'm going to show you right now will accommodate the modeling process. This is model without spatial correlation. So this is your normal modeling. So this is purely a binomial model. You can see C-bind, you see malaria counts, then total minus malaria counts. So this is simply what? a binomial model. That is, you have number of successes out of number of trials. So instead of using a Bernoulli trial, you can model this on a binomial trial, because for each cluster location, you have one or more children sharing the same. So you can use a binomial distribution framework to do this. If you look at the paper I'm talking about, the modeling framework, everything, the spatial correlation, everything used, everything is there. And the model is fitted in inline. That is integrated Apache approximation technique. That's one I've used. And then under what we call the SPD, I don't know. Sometimes I want to discuss this, I don't know. But okay, maybe I can talk about it briefly. So this is just, you know this already. When you want to fit your normal linear regression model, you have your outcome variable followed by the predictors or the independent variables. Is that not it? So I'm just setting up a formula that I'll be using. Instead of writing the whole of this into the function, I create a formula like this and I put everything into it like that. So when I come to the fitting, I use the command inline. There's another package in R called inline. And this is simply what I've defined already, the outcome together with the predictors. So here I am not taking into account any special correlation. This is simply a non-special model. So that I can compare this model to a special one to find out which one is better. That's the whole idea. But I know what I want to fit is a special model. But definitely they will ask you, why do you need to go into more complex model when a simpler one can do better? So first you need to feed the two and find out which one is doing better before you can move on, so that you can defend yourself if such questions arises. So this is simply an empty model for you, nothing more, nothing less. Then now at this stage, we want to now incorporate the special correlation to see, we are keeping the same set of covariates, but we will now want to include what? The special correlation to see if really it's worth it or not. And to do that under the Laplacian approximation procedure, which I can provide reference to, you need to do what we call mesh creation. You need to create a mesh. The mesh is going to be like your estimation and the prediction grid. Estimation and the prediction grid. And that takes into account your longitude and then your latitude to define the region of prediction and estimation. Then you need to create a mesh. Creating a mesh in inline, we use the command inline.mesh.2d. Then you need to bring the location, the one we created here, this guy here. The one we just bind the longitude and then the latitude. That's what we did. Now, when you bring the location or the area or the study region, the maximum age here, we are talking about, you have to be, we are always very careful about this side, because if you give too much smaller maximum age, you need to do a lot of computation and you end up not even achieving your goal. Because the smaller the ages, sometimes, even though the precision tend to be better, but the computational cost can be very, very huge. So there's a technique that we normally use to get these guys, which I can provide some reference that you can look at. There are techniques. You need to do such a way that the number of prediction grids doesn't exceed a certain number of degree. And once that is met, you don't have to worry. You can just move on and do your predictions. So far, I just hope you are seeing the work that is involved. So this is just, this alone is a question of the mesh. So when you finish, you can plot the mesh, and then you also include a pointer where you used to create the mesh. Remember, the CO is a latitude and longitude that we just bind. Then you need to create the SPD. The SPD is actually what we use for the prediction and the estimation. This is very important. Without this person, you can't progress, because this is actually the mother of it all. This is why we bring in the mesh to make sure we create a prediction and estimation grid. And once this stage is over, the rest are very easy to follow, because that one, this is a estimation matrix. Then you have the prediction matrix based on this one. And I can provide a lot of reference for you to also look at. Like I said, now let's go to the model. So this stage, as you can see, this stage, I am now adding back the ITN coverage, mean temperature, annual precipitation, travel times, and inhabitation to the prediction grid before I can do the prediction on it. And again, a lot of work is involved. A lot of work. So this is where you have the projector matrix. I'm almost done. So, and then the stacking. Please, if those who are interested, you can reach out to me. I will give you some materials to read or maybe go through. Even there's a lot of, you can get some help online also about this procedure. It's very good, very computation efficient, and it's also very reliable. You can always quantify the uncertainty around your estimate and validate, or if you can do cross validation on your estimate to see what is happening on the new data or on either in sample or out of sample. But I always do out of sample just to see how the fitted model behaves in the presence of a new data. I do that a lot. And normally in this framework, we use the Watanabe Akaike information criteria to compare all the model that you are fitting to determine which one is best. Then finally, the final model is on here. After the cross validation, I want to show the correlation, but that one too. Yeah, so this is where you do the variable selection for your final model. Then you do the cross validation, and then you use the final model. So this is the final model that I fitted. From here, you see something new. Because I want to quantify how long it takes for the model to run. The first one is going to tell the system that save the starting time for me. And this one is telling the system that save the end time for me. And this one is simply subtracting the start time from the end time. That is all. But the actual command that does the job, that incorporated the spatial correlation, is this one. Again, I'm happy to share some links. But if you go online, you definitely, let me see if I can pull out this thing. Sorry, let me see if I can pull out the paper even itself. Because I've defined nearly everything there. Accept invitation. There we are. I'm very sure by now you have seen the amount of work that goes into this very one. But trust me, it's worth it. If you are done, you'll be very happy because very few could go into those things or those areas. So if you're able to move into those areas, you are great. So this is the revision I'm doing now. This is what the journal I've sent. I just want to pull out the modeling part, the equation. Okay, so this is it. So this is the model formulation. So this previous one I'm talking about is the one published in the Lancet. So here we assume that YI to be the number of under 5 children with positive RDT test. That is for malaria. Out of the total NI, which I've just shown to you, under 5 children sample per geographical cluster. Now, given the true malaria risk, which is one ZI, the number of under 5 children with positive RDT out of the total number of under 5 children sample follows a binomial distribution formulated as what? This one. So, and then you can model the P of ZI on the logic scale as B0, which is an intercept. Then the D into bracket this is simply the set of your covariates. And then this is the one quantifying the spatial variability. Okay, so everything is detailed here. So please, again, I know I've taken too much of your time now, but these are the real work that we do. And again, this, as you can see, this interactive web-based mapping of the predicted malaria prevalence. So this is where, and the packages involved, everything is there, as you can see. You have the SPARSOF, the leaflet, and the SP. But there's one more that I want to show you before you go for the day, which is the TMAP. TMAP is very easy for thematic mapping, like the lattice data. So on that note, there are many, but once we are down through, please, I'll surely share. But like I said, for now, you can go and then also look at what we published for the Lancet on stunting. The same strategy, the same approach. Okay. All right, so I'm back to any questions so far. I know you might get lost along the line, but as you can see, I'm nowhere near finishing. I'm now coming to do the plotting of the posterior distribution of the risk factors, and then the posterior distribution of the spatial random effects. That is the variance, the range, the kappa, and all that. Okay. Then after that, you're come to now start the actual mapping, which happens at where are you? Model validation. That is fine. The mapping is here. Okay, so this is where you started from. So you get a summary of these, and then you started your mapping, you index. This is the predicted value. Here, this is a lower interval, the upper. Then you subtract the lower from upper, you get the confidence width. Because this is based on Bayesian framework, the 0.025 quantile is the lower upper, is the lower, and then the 0.975 is the upper. So if you subtract this from this, you get 95% credible interval. Okay. And you can also get a standard error from the same situation. Then this is simply doing the mapping for me. This is also when we're doing the mapping using a leaflet on a continuous scale. But like I said, for policy decisions, I normally do interval. So the interval one started from here, like I've shown you. And so when you're asking if I can show you what I've done before doing the mapping, this is it. So after getting your estimate, you need to convert it to what you call spatial polygon data frame before you can do the mapping. So please, on that note, I think I've taken too much of your time, but I think it's for our own good. If you can give me permission, I want to do the last one when you have a thematic data like information aggregated at the district level or regional level. This one is just a regional level, which is this one. That one to, as at 2014, there are only 10 regions. So the health facility delivery is only for 10 regions. So that's the one I want to do now. So I need to switch my working directory to pull out that one. For that one, I need the ArcGIS package that will help me to read in the spatial data. And then also I will need the SP as usual, and then the TMAP. The TMAP is the one that I used to do the thematic mapping, and I get into the web-based system. The guy you're seeing right here is we call it a shapefile. This guy is a shapefile. A shapefile is like a data frame containing special attributes that you can read and map. So this is for the regions of Ghana, the 10 regions of Ghana. So if I read this one now, and I plot it, if when you read it in, you can see it's telling you with 10 features, which means 10 regions, and there are 11 fields. 11 fields means that 11 attributes. I can plot only the shapefile only. I'm not interested in the attributes, so I plot the shapefile only. So as you can see, this is a map of Ghana, the 10 regions of Ghana. I can include the region names, but I don't need that for now. And what I did is that I know that if there's a variable in there called name_1. Name_1 is a region variable. So I can pull that one out to see how it looks like. So as you can see, it means the first region in the data set is called Ashanti. The second one is Bonahafu, third Central, fourth Eastern, fifth Greater Accra, sixth Northern, 7 Upper East, 8 Upper West, 9 Volta, and 10 Western. This is how they were arranged in the spatial data. In fact, if you want to be sure, after you read this, you can do the class of the data. Sorry, do class. It will tell that this is the spatial polygon data set or data frame, so reg. So as you can see, this is spatial polygons data frame. So this is not a normal data frame that you know, this is a spatial data frame, okay? So if you want to capture any variable from that, you need to first declare at data. If not, you'll not get it. If I remove this data and I run that, I will not get a result, even though it is the same data set. Okay, for instance, just watch. You see the dollar sign. Now let me put the @ sign. It's telling that error, no slot of name that, because we need a dollar sign to be able to pull this out. So all the time, technically, to have them arranged as it's supposed to be, for all the time, we do the @ So don't see the @ to be like, hey, just for fun. No, this is very, very important all the time. Once you're pulling out a special data frame for anything like that, you need that one definitely. Sometimes it can just get you off track. So please remember, if this were to be a mere data frame, we don't need the art. But because it's a special data frame, we need to take that into account. Now, okay, let me show you something. I think I want to show you where I got this from. I got this from 2014 DHS data, which is about the health facility delivery. Just for you to be sure what I'm doing here, I want to put a publication for you from the DHS data set, not data set, publication. Chairman, apologies. I know I've gone beyond the 1 hour.
No problem.
I just feel like
we are enjoying it, and that we're able to get you is something. So
okay. So that will be my health facility mapping, special script, health facility mapping. So we should have the papers. Okay. Yeah, so this is a report for that. The final report for the 2014 Demographic Health Survey for Ghana. So let me see health facility. Let me just type. Oh, come on. Okay, restore.
malaria.
Okay. Okay, so as you can see, the last but one column, you see presented delivered in a health facility. The early ones is for public and private, home and unassociated and so. But the last but one column is talking about this one. Is presented delivered in what? A health facility. So we are dealing with the region. So you come to the region start from here. Western region recorded 74%, Central 20.3%, Greater Accra 92.5%. The lowest was recorded in Upper North, in the northern region. That's this one. That's the lowest, which is 35.4. So we want to map the regional distribution of health facility delivery. So what do? First, all you need to do is to download the shapefile for the regions of Ghana. That's the first step, which normally I use the GAD. You can get from the GADM website. Let me just do that for you to see GADM. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. Apologies if I'm going beyond your time again. GADM. So you can download a shapefile for any country free of charge from the GADM website. So here, maybe I want Ghana. So I just enter Ghana. So you have it. So this one, normally I use a shapefile. If you click on the shapefile, it will download it will include both the national map of Ghana, the regional map of Ghana, and then the district map of Ghana. If you see level 0 is for the national map. That is the entire Ghana, level 0. If you see level 1, that is a regional one. If you see level 2, that is for the district. So far, there are only 3 levels for Ghana: the national one, the regional one, and the district one. So if I click on shapefile right now, it will download that for me. Go away from here. So you can see that it's downloaded. You see that. Currently, they have updated it. So it's possible that this might contain the current 16 regions of Ghana. But of course, you can also, there are also places you can download the old one, which is 10 regions. They are still there. They are still there. You can do that. The version 4.0, as of version 4.0, they still have the 10 regions of Ghana. But this is version 4.1. I'm very highly sure that this will contain the 16 regions of Ghana also. But you can check on your own. It's free of charge. Just type GADM. That is GADM. That's all. It will pop up and they just download it free. Then you just use the command I used to read it here. This one. Where are you? This command. We use the red OGR to read sharefiles. So because I didn't give the entire, what was the name? I didn't give the entire path because I've declared my working directory. Once you declare working directory, you don't need to give the entire path again before bringing this thing in. That is why you're seeing it very simple like this. I love working with working directory because it saves me a lot of time and learning a kind of test. No, so don't worry. So now the trick is this one. Look at this. If I do this, the system for special data, it presents it as they were arranged. So this is telling you that in the data set, the first one will be Ashanti region. So I would rather prefer to work with the shapefile than with the report. So I know that the first person here is Ashanti region. So the first element that I'm supposed to put here should be for Ashanti region. And look at how I did it very nicely. I did a reg at data, meaning that I want to add an attribute, and I call it delivery, and that's called C. So meaning that I am now mapping an attribute directly onto a spatial data. So that when I finish and I do the class again, I'll still have my spatial hot polygons data frame, which I can map directly without any struggle. Sometimes somebody will say, okay, convert the spatial data into maybe CSV file, then add this into it, then you read it back into the system. It's just a waste of time. Because with this one, I'm adding everything directly into the spatial polygons data frame without a need to convert to CSV before coming back. No, nothing like that anymore. If you want to do it like that, when you come, you have to now merge again. A lot of time is spent. This is a straight one, and everything is perfect. All you need to do is to first pull out this guy here. That is the name of the special polygon data frame, data, then the name of the variable that you want to look out for. And when you run this one, it tells you how they were arranged in the data. Then you pick it one by one and just insert what? Their figures for them. So he is telling me that the first region that appear in the data set, in the special data set is what? Ashanti. So I'll come to the report and just look for the Ashanti region and then give the figure to Ashanti. This is Ashanti region. So I'll go and look for the figure for Ashanti region. And this is, I think this is the one, 85.6, if I'm not mistaken. Ashanti, I think that is it. So that is 85.6. So when I come to the R, all I need to do is to add the 85.6. In fact, you could see that there's one at the top and one at the down. The top one, you are not capturing it as a categorical variable. You are capturing it as a continuous variable. So you now have to go and type somewhere in percentage. Or when you do the system will put them in groups, intervals again. I don't want that. I want each of the regions to have the percentage captured as it is. So that the names of the region rather will be the legend. I don't want the scales to be legend. I want the scales themselves to be in the polygons as the values. Then the name of the regions rather be like the legend. That is more meaningful than the first one. The first one will use the figures as the legend and then keep the name of the polygons inside the polygon. But it is easier the second way, doing it categorical. That's why you see me putting quotations against the percentages, quotations, so that you treat it as a categorical variable, and I'll map that directly. So we have seen that for Ashanti region is 85.6. So the second region, according to the shapefile, is Brown and Aheto. So all I need to do is come to the report to see Brown and Aheto. What is the figure? Brown and Aheto. It's 78.3%. So all I need to do is to come back to the R and then capture that as what? 78.3%. You do it, you finish with the last one. Here, the last one here is Western region. Is the last one. So let's look at the report. Western region happens to be the first one on the list here, which is 74%. So I'll come back to my program and then assign the 74.0%. And now my job is done. All I need to do now is to run this line. That happened. So I'll do summary. So you see that a new variable called delivery underscore C is added. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now you can also do the class again for reg it will still remain the same as a special polygon data frame. You see it? It doesn't change the class. Meaning that the shapefile is still as what it is. So I can comfortably begin to map. Now, this time around, we are not going to use a SP+1. We are not going to use a leaflet function, no. What we are going to do right now is use a different one called tmap. Tmap is another package in R that we use for thematic mapping. It's really, really good for things like this, like a lattice data, where you have information aggregated at certain levels, like other districts, region, or anything that has a boundary. The command is very simple. You see map here. This is simply, before then, you need to run for that. So library, I think we ran that already, but let me just run it again just to be sure. Library tmap. That's it. So the first thing you see over here is just the object name I want to assign. You can give any name yourself you want. You can give any name you want. I put just a map. The command to do this is tm_shape, which is tmap shape. Then you have to bring in the name of the spatial polygon data frame. In our case here, we call it reg, which is region. That's the way I simplify it. That's the name I've given, REG, region. So that must come. Then plus, here, this guy don't take piping. He uses plus. If you want to add additional information, he uses plus. So plus, that the tm_polygons is asking you, what is the name of the polygon that you really want to plot? That is, what really do you want to plot? Here, I said I rather want to plot the name of the regions, so that inside the polygons, they'll put the region names in each of the polygons where they belong. And the third set that I want to give to the legend, I say region name. The size of it, I just say normal, that is a 1. Style, I say fixed. Then you see these breaks here. If I were to be using the first one here, this one, if I were to be using this one, then I need to provide this break to tell the system at which intervals the plotting should be done for the legend. But this guy here means that I've blocked this out, so it will not work again, because I am no more using the first one. I'm using the second one where I want to put the percentage directly into the polygons. That's what I'm doing now. So the legend.histogram equal to F simply means that, do you want, under the legend, do you want them to also display the histogram for you? I say no. It's also very useful because it gives you the distribution of the scores. But because this one is now categorical, so I don't need histogram at all. Then the layout. Where do you want to put your legend? I say put it outside the plot. Put it outside the plot. Don't put it inside the graph. Put it outside the graph. That's the meaning. Now, do you want to add a text to the polygons? I say yes. What do you want to add? I said delivery_C. And you remember what this means? Who can tell us what this is? Delivery_C. What did I say this is? We created this ourselves. What did we say it is? Hello? Anyway, so this is the percentage health facility delivery in Ghana by region, 2014. Then here we add a scale bar as usual. Your job is done. So I can run this now. Then I call it out. Please, can you see the map?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is the map that command will produce for you. But again, this is a static map. We are not interested in static map at this level now. We want a web-based map. So I'm going to convert this into a web-based map right now. In the tmap framework, it's very easy. There's a command in tmap called tmap_leaflet. This guy is okay to get a thing to web-based for you, putting the Ghana in context with other countries and stuff. So I'm going to maintain, all you need to do is to maintain the same name map, but this time, you need a command tmap_leaflet and put that name there, which is map. So if I run this right now, automatically tmap will convert the static map into what? Web-based map within the leaflet framework. So if I run this one right now, it will not take me to the web. Please, can you see?
Yes.
So this is what you have now. Very easy, right? Very easy. You can, if you like, cross-check the report to see that the percentages are correctly what? Provided. You can check. It will be the same. Okay, and then now the ledger is now the region name. You can see it's on the region being represented by a color. So if you want to be sure what percentage each of them you have, it's just a matter of coming there and then you see it, everything. On that note, if I didn't bore you so much, I would like to end here. And if there are some questions, Senior, I would like to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much. In fact, we have just about 3 minutes. I was trying to do the extension, but I just created a new schedule for a new meeting. So when this all goes, we have to where do we go? We have to move to the next link.
Next link, which one is that?
No, I mean we have just 2 minutes to end this one.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So I've created a new.
Oh yeah.
Schedule a new.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No Thank you so much.
No problem.
It's a lot of work. I see many of our people are moving away, so
yeah.
In fact, we'll call you again.
We have gone beyond their time, so
yes. Because especially the data issues. Now, please save some time for us again and do the part 2.
No problem. We'll see. We'll try.
Because what you have done is extremely useful, and to be sincere, if it is the first time we have got a full house of 20.
Oh, okay.
I heard you were coming. Many of the health people started logging into it. So we'll be happy if you find time again for us for part 2 of this, a continuation.
Okay, no problem.
Yes.
Let's keep talking.
Yeah, so today I'm grateful to you, and we'll reserve our questions for the part 2.
No problem.
Yes.
No problem.
It's extremely, I mean, you are so helpful to us, and to be able to get you, it's very difficult, I know. But
we'll try. And I know you really pushed.
Yes, you willingly came. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I don't mind. You can share the recording with participants. I don't mind.
Yes, in fact, it will be on YouTube. It will be on our YouTube channel. As soon as it's done, I'll send the link to you.
No problem. That's fine. Okay.
Yes. Then also, as you said, the script, you send the scripts also.
Yeah, yes. I will send a script. I will send it to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
You can hire me in my email. I will send it to your email.
Okay, good. I'll do so.
With these things, I don't work too well on WhatsApp and stuff. By email, yes.
Okay.
So you can just hire me on email, remind me, and I'll just send it to you. Yeah.
I'll do so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye, Prof.
All right. Bye. Thank you so much. All the best. I'm grateful.
And the data, okay, well.
Okay, so Samuel, we'll see you again. We'll speak to later.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Okay, we'll speak.
Very great, very insightful. All right.
Okay, so all the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you very much, Doc. I'll come and see you in Chambers.
Okay, do.